I am the coordinator of the Connection Youth Program at CHI, formerly known as Choices for Parents. And I'm very happy today to be working with Kristen VanDyke from the Foundation for Hearing and Speech Rehabilitation. She is the executive director there, as well as Sally Blandon, the early childhood program manager at the Merit School of Music. The two of them are going to be here tonight to talk with us about music in the home.
Hello, friends. What do you say? It's gonna be a happy day. Greet your neighbor, boogie on down. It's gonna be a happy day. Hola, amigos, ¿cómo están? Hoy va a ser un gran día. Salúdense, menéanse. Hoy va a ser un gran día.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Kristen VanDyke, and on behalf of myself and the Board of Directors for the Foundation for Hearing and Speech, we are thrilled to be presenting to the Connections families on this wonderful and important topic, music in the lives of children with hearing loss. The Foundation, in partnership with the Merit School of Music, is pleased to bring all the joy and educational benefits of music to our families. So let's talk a little bit about why we're here tonight. Benefits of music appreciation for deaf and hard of hearing children. It's been well researched and documented how important it is to include music in the lives of children. And we've seen recently in published articles, there's growing evidence on the associations between the participation in music activities and improved listening skills, speech perception, and language skills. Researchers have found correlations between music and enhanced language perceptions at many levels, including turn taking, helping to promote natural conversations. This all creates a strong argument for the importance of including a focus on music in children's lives who are living with hearing loss. They all could use the benefits. So what are some of the benefits? First off, we have increased social aspects. All kids need to socialize with their hearing peers and their deaf and hard of hearing peers. And music is the perfect venue to make that happen. It may be at a concert, it may be in a music class, or in your own home, but it's a wonderful vehicle to help promote socialization. It's a bonding experience for parents and caregivers. It can be really difficult when your child has been diagnosed with a hearing loss. A shared music-rich environment can really be a place of happiness for both the parent and the child. The give and take in music, the repetition, the call and response, all helps to build on conversational communication. Music encourages sound articulation. By placing your child's very active and engaged brain in a music-rich and language-rich environment, it really helps to strengthen and foster articulation and mimicry. There's evidence of increased auditory working memory. Why is auditory working memory important? It's literally the cornerstone for language and literacy. This helps train, music helps train the brain to really remember when they hear something. And that is something that all of our babies need to have. It encourages language acquisition. It helps the child to be exposed to all kinds of rich sounds and words through a joyful experience. They're able to hear better in noisy environments. They can detect word rhythmic regularities, and it enhances sound discrimination. It's the Foundation's belief that children with hearing loss, music enrichment, and education provides the added benefit of easing language acquisition and improving speech therapy outcomes. This all sounds great, right? The science behind it is really cool, and I think we can all get behind it. But personally, as the parent of a deaf child who has cochlear implants, I wasn't focused on the research when he was a baby. I was focused on making it through the day. It was life-altering to take my son Max to his first music class. It allowed us to really bring music into our household in a joyful and meaningful way at a time when we had been struggling with so much post-diagnosis. All the trips to the audiologist, all the trips to the hospital, the therapies. This ended up being our little time of joy, and it allowed us to bond and start to build that relationship of music and language richness in our home. So who are we? Some of you may know about the foundation, but we are actually over 60 years old. We are a grassroots nonprofit organization that's simply dedicated to improving the lives of children who are living with hearing loss. We strive to remove barriers that prevent children who have hearing loss from achieving their full potential. And we do this by focusing on 3 pillars: social, educational, and economic programming. Our goal is to help place deaf and hard of hearing children on the same trajectory as their hearing peers. We support programming work such as innovative educational programs and music programming, such as we're doing this evening, clinical services and social services, and free family concerts that help us bring the community together, because everybody needs a community. And what we have seen and what I've personally seen is that this is a great community to be a part of. And you'll never meet nicer people. And it really comes in handy when you need those people to answer the questions for you. So that's a little bit about what we do. And now I want to take a moment to introduce you to Sally Blandon. I am thrilled to have her partnering here with me this evening on this webinar, but also in every step of the way with our music program. Sally is from the Merit School of Music here in Chicago, and she is their lead early childhood program manager. She also plays an integral role in all of the foundation's music programming and development, both with the early childhood classes and our school-based programming. We feel the time and dedication that she has invested in our children will pay huge dividends in all aspects of their lives. Thanks for being here tonight, Sally. Welcome.
Thank you, Kristen. My name is Sally Blandon, and I am, as Kristen said, the early childhood program manager and lead teacher for our programming at Merit, and also for our Music to My Ears programming throughout the Chicagoland area. The Merit School of Music is an organization that is dedicated to helping young people transform their lives by providing equal access to high quality music education, with nearly 70% of students benefiting from need-based financial aid and low-cost instrument rental. Merit provides a distinctive music education pathway consisting of 5 major areas, which students may join at any stage, including early childhood, group classes, and private lessons. And if I may add, what's really special about Merit is our continuum. You can start out, like we said, in early childhood, as early as infancy, and grow with our program as you become a young adult in high school and become part of the tuition-free conservatory, and even throughout college or just through your adult life. It really is an amazing continuum and an amazing program.
Thanks, Sally. We are clearly big fans of all the work that you do, so thank you. I want to take just a moment to introduce the Music to My Ears early childhood program. This one is clearly near and dear to my heart. It comes out of our Cheers for Ears free family concert that we have every year, and we look forward to having in 2021 when it's safe to gather again. It really is the commitment of the foundation to bring the lifelong benefits of music education to deaf and hard of hearing children, bringing that joy of music into their world, but also to lay the groundwork for increased auditory skills, language development, and cognitive strength. Music enrichment classes are the first step of incorporating a music education and creating a music-rich home in your child's life. This program started out with our early childhood scholarships, providing a year of tuition-free music appreciation classes for children with hearing loss and their primary caregiver. If you have not already taken advantage of our tuition-free music classes, please do so. Apply online at our website, FHSR.org. The scholarship application is there. We would love to have you, and we would love to have you join us in one of Sally's classes. So, fostering a music-rich environment at home. What are the benefits? Why are we going to do it? Well, let's talk a little bit about social emotional well-being. Music has shown to enhance interpersonal connections. Everybody has a connection to music. It's a shared experience, and it has a positive impact on dopamine levels. Basically, it's a fun and engaging way to really be happy and be around your loved ones and share a lovely time. It also allows for the introduction of a wide variety of sounds. This is something that's key when children are born with hearing loss. We want to give them sound, and we want them to have access to everything. I know I spent a lot of time identifying sounds the minute that Max was implanted and he could hear something. So music is everywhere. You know, it's a natural way to introduce new sounds. We utilize music all the time as a way of invoking sounds and feelings and emotions with him. It is, you know what, you can connect sound to movement. This is something Sally's really going to talk about that I'm a big fan of, where it really helps to strengthen the neuron pathways by creating that connection in between sound and movement. Singing promotes vocalization. We all want our babies to start to vocalize, and being able to sing with them and share that moment really helps the babies to mimic what you're doing. And it's fun. It really is a joyful, lovely way to bond with your baby. I'm going to actually let Sally take us through some of the key points to incorporating music in your home. Sally?
All right, so how does music enhance a child's development? Well, as you can imagine, music is amazing in that it stimulates all areas of a child's brain. And there are 5 notable areas that are stimulated by the brain that I would like to, or stimulated by music that I would like to talk about. The first is cognition, social emotional, early literacy and language, math and logic, and the physical. So for a child with hearing loss, research suggests that it may be helpful to expose deaf children or deaf-blind children or any child with hearing loss to music early in life so that their brain music centers may have the stimulus to develop. In today's discussion, I'd like to focus on 3 out of the 5 notable areas and how music is highly beneficial and extremely instrumental in the development of children, and especially those children with hearing loss. There is the first, physical, which is going to be a really big topic we're going to discuss tonight. The second that we're going to discuss is social emotional. And then the last that we're going to touch on is language development and early literacy. So let's go ahead and dive in to the physical. For the sake of context and or to those that are new to these concepts or words, there are 2 important components to physical development that I'd like to elaborate on. One is called proprioceptive feedback, and the other is called kinesthesia. Proprioceptive feedback is the sensation or feeling of an action. As it would relate to music, singing is a sensation that we feel. Speaking, shouting, whispering, it's all a sensation. That is proprioception. If I were to give you a more tangible example, if I told you to close your eyes and point to your nose, that also takes proprioception to do. So proprioception provides a neural representation of body mechanics to the central nervous system. So this suggests an additional role of proprioception during movement, namely to allow the nervous system to identify the optimal mechanical pattern of movement during the performance of a task. So that's proprioception. Now, the second is called kinesthesia, which is basically a fancy word for muscle memory. Otherwise known as, for a toddler or baby, crawling, walking, running as they become young children, riding a bicycle. As it relates to music, that would look like playing an instrument, finger patterning for playing the piano or the guitar or the violin. So kinesthesia refers to the ability to perceive the extent, direction, and weight of movement. It has been studied and proven that deaf and hard of hearing children sense vibration in the part of the brain that other people use for hearing. And yes, if you're thinking the auditory cortex, yes, that's exactly right. So this helps explain how deaf musicians can sense music and how deaf people can enjoy concerts and other musical events. Dr. Dean Shibata says that these findings suggest that the experience deaf people have when feeling music is similar to the experience other people have when hearing music. The perception of the musical vibrations by the deaf is likely every bit as real as the equivalent sounds, since they are ultimately processed in the same area and part of the brain. Now, Dr. Dean Shibata is from the University of Washington. We are going to now show you a clip, which is a prime example. And even though your child may have some hearing loss or whatnot, your baby may or may not be able to orally process the sounds of a musical excerpt or rhyme, but you as the parent or caregiver can assist your child in processing music and conceptualizing sounds by helping them enjoy what I like to call musical painting, or painting a musical picture with sounds and movements through mindful baby massage and strategic movements. So we're going to go ahead and see this first video. I hope you enjoy.
Are you ready? Are you ready? You say, good morning, sun is up, sun is up. Time to stretch your arms, time to stretch your arms. Stretch, 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 stretch. Good morning, sun is up, sun is up. Time to brush your teeth, time to brush your teeth. Brush, 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 brush. You ready? Good morning, sun.
It's so cute.
Oh, I love that one, Sally. I just think that's adorable. And you know what jumps out at me every time I see this video is how intimate you are with the baby. You're facing the baby, you're close, you're moving the baby's arms to the sound of your voice. They can see your lips moving. It just seems like a lovely little piece of intimacy to have with your baby and music.
Yeah, this baby he was 10 weeks old in this video. It's a friend of mine, and I was babysitting and I was just playing with him and doing all sorts of fun little games. And what I found really cool, being that he was so young, is that all the sounds I was making, and when I said brush, which is a very rough sound, he kind of grunted. I don't know if you heard that. And so that's just an example of how music or something just super simple like that can engage even a 10-week-old. Like they are little sponges. So that's an example of a 10-week-old. And now we're going to show you a clip of an older baby or young toddler. She had just turned 1, actually about a month ago. Her name is Lucia. And I'm using a rhyme to do another musical painting with her, with my voice and through baby massage and what have you. So here's the next one.
The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and whoosh, the spider up. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again.
Yeah, and in that one, you'll notice at the end, I did what we call in music a glissando, which is a vocal slide or a slide from high to low and low to high. And I tickled her up and I tickled her down as I was singing it. Another way to adapt that type of activity right now, we are obviously being very mindful of spreading germs and all of these things. So if you were at home with your child, you could sing little vibrations or sing a slide with your voice and just do it on the palm of your baby's hand or even on their cheek, because they can feel the frequencies and get that vibrational information. Which brings me to my next point. The vibrational information has essentially the same features as sound information. So it does make sense that in children that are deaf or that suffer from any type of hearing loss, one modality may replace the other modality in the same processing area of the brain. It's not necessarily the nature of the modality, but the way that the modality of the information is being sent. That seems to be the most important piece for the developing brain. So that's one chunk of the physical. I'd also like to talk about inhibitory control. So when students with hearing loss or children with hearing loss engage in music at home or via extracurricular activities, they learn how to be active listeners and feelers. Now, feelings, yes, but feelers, notice I'm saying like feelings, like the sensations that they're feeling, which again is instrumental in auditory habilitation. This is a skill that's not only used in music, it is used throughout life. Music then reinforces this habilitation process and teaches children with hearing loss or any type of deaf blindness how to actively listen or feel and be aware and develop that sense of auditory or even vibrational discrimination. So learning how to make distinctions in pitch. If you were to sing in your hand a really low sound, or if you think about a concert when those used to happen, the bass, you feel it in your chest. If you hear a really high pitch sound, it resonates different. So pitch, timbre, the texture of sound, patterns, sequencing, all of this relates to other life skills, such as social cues. Is someone angry? Is someone sad? Is it, appropriate to be speaking very loudly, or should we whisper? Spatial awareness, sentence structuring, call and response, following directions at school, or with your playmates, or when you're visiting a friend or families, and just having an overall awareness and mindfulness of their space. This next example, the baby that we're about to see is about, I want to say 6 months old, and the baby is exploring and experiencing their day-to-day home environment. Now, this is super important. You don't need to have super fancy toys, electronic, bright lights, all these things. Babies are very much stimulated by what's in their environment. So they are engaged with this because there is cause and effect to everything around them. If they drop a ball, it bounces. If they tip over and they bonk their head, there's that cause and effect of, whoops, I need to try that again. That's how they learn how to crawl and walk. Cause and effect is the first step in children learning how to conceptualize various aspects of their day-to-day routine. If you add music and instrument play, you only strengthen this development. So cause and effect, again, is a pattern. And something that I really want to emphasize is that our brains are a pattern-seeking muscle. It loves patterns, and music is an incessant just abyss of patterns that I don't even think we know what all the patterns are, which is why it's so magical and extremely beneficial for children with any type of hearing loss to experience musical activities throughout their day-to-day routine. This is a really fun video because it's very candid, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I think it's really funny because she thinks it's a game and it's her first time playing with this pot and the pan and this wooden spoon, which is something that most people have in their kitchen. So you just have to make sure your baby's in a safe space to explore. And she's developing her sense of cause and effect through her home environment, which is just, it's priceless. Now we've got another video establishing a little bit older baby. It's Lucia again. She's about a year old, and we're doing a very scaffolded approach. Scaffolding is when you are mimicking a child, and then, or vice versa, and then you come up with a variation of a movement that the child is doing. So here we're trying to play a little bit and do a little more object exploration, but a little bit more advanced because she's older.
Uno, dos, tres. ¿Qué tiene la sopa de bebé? ¿Qué tiene la sopa de bebé? ¿Será que tiene espinaca? Perhaps it has some spinach. ¿Qué tiene la sopa de bebé? Uno, dos, tres. ¿Qué tiene la sopa de bebé? ¿Qué tiene la sopa de bebé?
Yes, and that was super precious because she eventually took the cup and the spoon and she started playing the steady beat. You'll notice I helped her a little bit, but I wasn't doing it for her. I was modeling it, then kind of coached her a little bit, and then she figured it out. And I was constantly trying to establish the steady beat, which is very important to talk about, because the steady beat or having rhythm, there's this misconception of, oh, I was born with no rhythm, or, you know, I don't have any rhythm. And that is actually not the case. Children and people have to be exposed to rhythm and the steady beat in order for their bodies and brains to conceptualize that. So the earlier you expose your baby to the steady beat and to rhythm, the more they will inherit that through proprioception and through muscle memory. And this is a really good example of eye-hand coordination, which has to do with writing and doing other day-to-day tasks. So yeah.
Sally, you know what I loved about this one? Again, you're on the floor and you're facing Lucia, and there's minimal background noise, and you have a simple cup and a spoon. And what you're doing is that percussive sound, and that percussive sound and that steady beat is the first thing that kids with hearing loss can pick up. It's the most accessible, and it's one of the things that you should really start with at home as a parent when you start to bring in this music-rich environment, is really just starting on that steady beat and that percussive sound, because your child will be able to grasp it so much easier and quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with 100% of that statement. So yes, we're going to dive in now to the second part that I'd like to talk about, which is the social emotional aspects of music and how it's super beneficial and therapeutic. So for a baby or infant, singing can soothe, comfort, calm, or entertain. And as the baby progresses through infancy to becoming a toddler, music can also enhance language development, parental and social bonding, and musical development. So overall, something that's very important that I tell all of the parents in my classroom is modeling what it looks like to slow down and relax and actively be present. I'm guilty of it. I sometimes don't know how to relax. So not saying that it's an easy thing to do, but it's something that we should all try and do and teach and expose our young babies and toddlers to, because it teaches them self-soothing techniques. This may look like rocking to a song together, observing a live performance. when those used to happen. Again, I know we don't have that going on now, but you could watch maybe a musical performance online, or you could also explore an instrument or a musical instrument from your very own home, like a pot and pan and a wooden spoon. You'll notice that in the clip below that we're going to show, I'm performing a lullaby in a very noisy park in the West Loop. And something that I want to point out is you'll notice that the children knew to be present, and they began rocking to the sound of my voice and the guitar. And this was unprompted. I just started kind of rocking. I calmed myself down. We had done like a really exciting dance, and I just kind of swayed with the guitarist. And you'll see the children just be extremely sweet to one another. And so I just want you guys to make those observations of the children.
Remember me. Though I have to say goodbye. Remember me. Don't let it make you cry. For even if I'm far away, I'll hold you in my arms. I sing a secret song to you each night that we're apart. Remember me.
Sorry, that was a little choppy. I don't know if there must be a connection issue, but from what you could maybe have gathered, the little girls in the unicorn outfit were kind of snuggling, and one of the sisters put her arm around her other sister and just kind of was like rubbing her. And then there were the two other children that kind of started rocking. And when I was doing this, I thought that was pretty incredible considering that we were in such a noisy environment. But it just goes to show that children are creatures of mimicry. And if you show them what something looks like, they want to be a part of it. So I totally encourage everyone to do a little focused listening. Now, focused listening looks like a lot of different things. This is rocking and bonding and kind of slowing down. But focused listening can also be exciting, and you can dance and move around and paint a musical picture with your body and paint the picture of the sounds that you're hearing or the vibrations that you're feeling. So we've got our famous Lucia, and we are exploring the sounds of the Skater's Waltz, which is an instrumental. So we're having a little bit of internet issues, but you can kind of get the gist of that. I think that Lucia is really enjoying movement, and she in general enjoys movement. Kristen, what did you get from that?
Yeah, this one I love in particular. It reminds me of when I would dance with my son, with Max, when he was a baby. He was colicky, he couldn't hear me, and traditional vocal soothing wasn't effective at all. So I would sway with him and hold him close, and he could feel me singing. He could feel the reverberation of my chest, and he could feel the movement. And that was the one thing that really calmed him down. And I later came to learn about how children born with hearing loss tend to have vestibular system deregulation. And when you actually help sway and move with the child, it helps to regulate their vestibular system, which feeds into self-soothing and helps the baby to self-calm themselves, which is why you tend to see people rocking, and it's calming. I had never known that was something that was actually helping his vestibular system. I just thought it was a lovely moment and it would stop him from crying. But it's, but it's really helpful and something to be mindful of, because even when children have implants or they have Baha systems or they have hearing aids, any level of hearing loss can still cause some vestibular system deregulation. So it's important to do the little things that you can do, such as this, to help regulate and self-soothe those systems.
Yes, absolutely. The final part that I'd like to touch on, and hopefully the video will work, we've got language development and literacy. So we're just going to touch on this briefly, but the area of the brain that is responsible for interpreting music overlaps with the area responsible for language acquisition. So vocal play varies from making random silly sounds to forming phonetic awareness to making distinctions in, again, timbre, the texture of sound, volume, conversational cues, social emotional awareness, and more. In this final example, I love that Lucia knows the sounds of her favorite book. So we're playing and reading the book, and not reading the book in a traditional way. That's sometimes a misconception of reading books. There's nothing bad and wrong with reading the words, but sometimes you just want to give a little bit of space for vocalization and just being silly. So you'll notice she vocalizes and plays with me as we're reading the book together. And just notice how much space I give her when we're going back and forth, and how I'm allowing her to kind of turn the pages. And she's a little distracted because she loves my dog, but for the most part, it's pretty awesome to see how she's doing that call and response with me, and she knows her book, essentially.
¿Qué dice? What does he say? Blob. 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 Blob.
She's super funny, and I thought it was incredible that she mimicked my vocal pattern when I went really high, which was kind of awesome. And I was trying not to act too excited because I wanted her to keep doing it. But those are the magical moments in class that I love. And it's something that I love sharing with parents and caregivers, because they're always like, oh my gosh, did you hear that? And I'm like, yes, this is why music is so awesome. So yeah, I love that clip and vocalization.
And that vocalization, Sally, really plays into sentence and sound production, and it helps kids with hearing loss really start to pick up on the nuances of language and speaking. So they start to learn that when you ask a question, you go up at the end. Those are the little pieces that, being in a music class when you're young, it really helps to build that foundation and make your language so much stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of wrap everything up, these were just a few examples of how musical activities can enhance your child's development via their day-to-day routine. And something that I would really like to do is just empower all of you, every parent, every caregiver, or even family member, to feel confident in sharing music with your child. You don't have to be a Mozart or a Beatles member or Whitney Houston to share music with your children. It just simply takes singing one of your favorite nursery rhymes or poems, or you can find all sorts of different types of resources, and just I want to empower you to really find time during your day to share music. And one of the ways that you can also do that is by joining an early childhood class at Merit. And I highly do encourage you all to look into the Music to My Ears scholarship, because it's really awesome. I've taken the curriculum and did my best and have done my best to customize it to meet the needs of children with hearing loss. And I'm super thrilled with the students that I do have and how they've responded via the limited in-person that we've had, and also just the virtual platform. We're still able to connect through music despite all of the current circumstances. I will leave you with this, and this is my classroom mantra that I always like to share with all of my parents or caregivers in class. And that is that you are your child's favorite toy, and you always will be. So I will leave you with that.
That's just great, Sally. Thank you. And please, to reiterate, Sally said, we highly encourage you to investigate the classes, come fill out an application for a scholarship, and come see Sally in person. I'm also thrilled to announce that Sally is going to be producing a small video series for the foundation. We should see that coming out over the next 6 to 9 months. It'll be some mini classes and some instructional help to help parents really know how to create that music-rich environment at home for their child who has hearing loss. So we are so excited to continue bringing this programming to you all. And please visit the website, fhsr.org, for any more information and for the applications. Thank you for joining us this evening.
That was fantastic. Thank you. I really learned a lot. I never really stopped to think about how music has so many different layers to it. It's more than just listening to the sound. There's all that bonding, the connection, the foundational pieces of helping to build language. There's so much involved with music. So thank you for sharing that. I really do appreciate that. We do have a few minutes for questions. If anybody has any, feel free to put them in the Q&A box, type them in the chat box, or send it to me privately. I do have a question that was sent to me privately that I'm going to quickly throw out now. We're a little bit over time, so we do have a minute or two to answer questions before we wrap up. What can I do at home to help my child start to recognize and notice different sounds in the environment?
I would start with your at-home environment, day-to-day routine. So, bath time, the water running makes a shh type of sound, vocalizing that. You could go for listening walks outside. I've been actually playing with my students and some of my young children and having them listen to what crunching snow sounds like. So walk outside and explore those sounds. Or if you hear a bird or a car, just doing different distinctions like that. And if you want to be able to translate it a little bit more, if your child is orally not processing as much, again, you vocalizing the sounds on their hand, on their back, on their cheek, they're still going to get that vibrational information, and they're still going to retain that information.
That darn microphone, my goodness, I keep forgetting to turn it on. Very simple, easy to start tomorrow. So I have two other questions in the chat box. I'm sorry, the Q&A box. One is, do you have any input on how to start this kind of a program with older children? And two, is this program for children alone, or the similar programs for adults who are deaf and hard of hearing as well?
So I'll take that one. The foundation has expanded our Music to My Ears programming. The early childhood component is birth to 4. And now we are offering instrument lessons at Merit School of Music, both private and group lessons for children, 4.5 and up, 5 years and up. And that will carry on throughout high school. We do not have anything, unfortunately, for adults. We have started this year with 2 pilot programs for school-based music programming. So that's very exciting. We hope to expand on that. But right now, if you have a child who's a little bit older and they want to pick up an instrument, please do, again, visit the website and we will connect you with Merit and get you signed up. We have one student right now who's taking piano and he loves it. It's pretty amazing. So we highly encourage you to reach out.
I will touch on that in saying that even though there may not be formal classes that FHSR is offering, the early childhood classes are very unique in that the class is almost more for the adults or caregivers in the sense that we're coaching you how to use music, and we're kind of in the background singing and playing, but we're kind of like your coach, and we're engaging with you and teaching you about the benefits of all these activities, and your child is reaping the benefits of that. So the early childhood class, you will learn just as much. And in the early childhood, we also have preschool aged from, like Kristen said, like 4 to 7, we've got a curricula where they start learning basic musical theoretical concepts in our music masters classes. And we actually do have the parents come to those classes for the Music Masters 1, and then the Music Masters 2, we kind of teeter them away, but they still kind of come and visit, and the parents are learning with the child, but in a different way. So overall, you will learn all sorts of wonderful things. And if you're interested in doing a free trial, you can email me. I'll go ahead and put that I'll share that with Carla so she can share my Merit email with everyone, because we can set you guys up with a free trial just so you can kind of see what it's about. We're actually starting our spring semester next week.
Oh, perfect timing. Perfect timing. And then one final question, if I may ask one more.
Yeah.
One person asked about some suggestions on where to start with a 10-month-old with bilateral cochlear implant who will be activated in a few weeks.
Can you repeat the question for me?
Sure. This person would like to know of some suggestions on where to start with a 10-month-old who has bilateral cochlear implant who will be activated in a few weeks.
Okay. Well, I think you can start with some musical painting in very simple exercises, like the one that I did with the 10-week-old. The 10-month-old would behoove you to do some bilateral movements. So that alternating from side to side or folding in and out. Another thing that might be helpful is helping your baby with some depth perception, moving close and far and singing sounds loud and soft, and having them feel the vibration while you're holding baby. Those are a few things that you can do, but there's lots of basically any type of folding. So you've got 2 midlines. So you've got the midline here, and then you've got the midline across your waist. So doing some of those exercises where you're bending baby, and you'd be surprised. Some people are like, I don't want to hurt the baby, but babies actually really they like to be manhandled, if I could say that. They like to be played with. So don't be shy in like moving. And the more you engage with that like strong movement and touch, you'll find that the baby will start laughing.
And And if I can jump in, you know, when we first started music classes with my son, he was 9 months old. He had been implanted and activated for about a month. So it was really a moment in his life. And what I loved about the classes is the classes were perfect for him. They were percussive, they were single voice. It was a lot of that connection of sound to movement. It was repetitive. It was exactly what he needed at the time to start working on his musical life, to start on his hearing life, and to start his life as a speaking little baby. So it was, these classes are perfect for newly implanted little 10 months old.
Yeah, repetition is key. So
Mhm.
find a movement pattern that your 10-month-old enjoys and stick to that. And
Yeah.
then just make different sounds and all of that.
Perfect. And we're going to wrap it up on that note. My email address is in the chat box along with Sally's email address. I will reach out to each of you and ask you to fill out a satisfaction survey. And we can also share more information about opportunities available for your child through FHSR and the Merit School of Music. I strongly encourage you to reach out to either Sally or Kristen and find out what kind of opportunities they have for you, because it's a really great benefit for your child. So again, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carla.
Bye-bye.